I mean, what the f***? If you're gonna bring him back after Logan, which I fully support. Okay, so the third Avengers Doomsday teaser is by far my favorite. I cannot wait for it to officially come out, but you know, that leak, it was pretty damn good. So, you know, I've gushed a lot about how Ian McKellen's Magneto is back. Haven't seen him as Magneto since 2014 with Days of Future Past. That's been more than 10 years ago. And then, of course, you know, James Marsden as Cyclops in a proper suit and being given his flowers. It's all very exciting. And I get a chill every time I watch that trailer, especially at the moment when Magneto says, "It's not about how you die, but who you are when you close your eyes." I love it. So beautiful. And, you know, just as an X-Men kid, it just has me so super excited and like emotional, man. But I noticed something kind of weird. I love Patrick Stewart. I love him as Professor X. And seeing him back with Magneto, it is so fucking cool. And I'm so excited. But I noticed that I wasn't as excited and as moved by his return as I was for the Magneto return or even the Cyclops return. And I think the reason for that is because Marvel, they already kind of pissed in the Professor X's back Cheerios with Multiverse of Madness. And, you know, I'm not the only one feeling this way. We've got a question that comes to us from Taylor. And Taylor writes, "Hey, Colton, do you think Patrick Stewart's return in Avengers Doomsday is going to have less of an impact after we saw him come back just to die in Doctor Strange?" All right. So see, that's a great question. So Patrick Stewart's Xavier. He was in X-Men 1, 2, and 3, and then he died in 3, in Last Stand. But then he returned from the grave in the post-credit scene for the Wolverine, and he returned for Days of Future Past. That was dope. And then we got this brilliant, probably my favorite portrayal Stewart has done as Xavier in Logan. And in that movie, he died again. But it was okay because it was so moving and special. Now, I am not one of these people who say, "Oh, Wolverine coming back after Logan ruins it. Xavier coming back after Logan ruins it. Steve Rogers coming back after Endgame ruins it. RDJ coming back after Endgame ruins it." I'm not one of those guys, okay? I think it's silly to feel that way. Like, when I hear, "Oh, what was the point of Logan?" or "What was the point of Endgame if they're just going to bring them back later?" What do you mean? What do you mean, what was the point? Did the Logan movie... Here, let me check my shelf. Did the Logan movie disappear just because Deadpool and Wolverine came out? No. Now, I'm not dense. I get what these guys mean. They're saying that from a meta-cultural perspective, that they would have preferred that the last time Hugh Jackman played Wolverine or Patrick Stewart played Xavier, they would have preferred it to have been the Logan movie. And the same is said for RDJ and Chris Evans with Endgame. But I am just firmly of the opinion that those movies and the deaths and final moments or whatever, those are still those moments. They still exist. And the Steve Rogers one, it just makes sense, I think, for him to return. But I won't go off on that tangent again. But let's get back to Patrick Stewart, okay? And Xavier. I had no problem, zero problem, with him coming back for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I was very excited, and I didn't in any way think it undermined or undid or spat in the face of his death in Logan, from a story perspective or even from a meta perspective. But I do think his return in Multiverse of Madness may have hurt his return in Doomsday. Let me explain. So, say what you will about Multiverse of Madness. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't all that great either. And one of the dumbest parts of that movie was when they shoehorned in this Illuminati scene. Was it cool? Sure. Kinda. But it was so random and just an obvious excuse to just say, "Hey, look, it's that guy." And look, that's not the only reason that I don't like the scene. I think the scene is just really bad. It could have been cool. It could have had all the same characters back and been the gimmick that it was, and it still could have given us a great, meaningful scene. But I don't think it did. The whole Titan flashback scene was so stupid. It looked stupid. The scene felt like it was filmed in a garage, and none of the actors were like on set at the same time. The dialogue was clunky and felt like dialogue just strung together in an editing room, and there was just no depth to it at all. And then they go and kill my boy again for a third time. Now, I'm all for bringing back Patrick Stewart as Xavier, but just to kill him off again almost immediately? Really? I mean, I'm not one of these guys who says that the multiverse, oh, it undermines deaths or stakes. I don't think it does. I think it's very emotionally impactful for, say, a Tony Stark to die, or if we see Sam Wilson or whoever die. It still has an impact. It's not undone just because we know that there's another one of them out there in the multiverse. That version that we knew and cared about is still dead, died, so that's emotionally impactful. But the reason I think that Xavier in Multiverse of Madness and his return and immediate death, the reason I think it really pisses me off so much is because it popped the cherry of the Xavier return after Logan. The post-Logan Xavier return, that's a big deal. And it was Multiverse of Madness, and it was just that. They just immediately kill him and take advantage of the fact that, oh, well, you know, he's just a random variant. It doesn't really matter. We can still bring him back later, which I don't know if Xavier was always going to be in Avengers 5, which was once Kang Dynasty and now is Doomsday, but they were totally planning to bring him back for Secret Wars. And, you know, even if they weren't, which they were, but even if they weren't, I mean, what the fuck? If you're going to bring him back after Logan, which I fully support, at least make it mean something. I mean, you want us to have this emotional connection to him and this nostalgia for him and care about him. And, you know, you want to give us the feels, but then you give us such a half-baked short collection of scenes where he just gets his neck snapped and, you know, give credence. You're giving credence to this argument that the multiverse really does take away all stakes because, oh, that was just an Xavier variant that we don't really know. There are plenty more. I don't know, man. It just felt sloppy and lazy. And I would think that if you're going to bring back Patrick Stewart as Xavier for the multiverse saga, you don't bring him back as like this variant of himself, kill that variant, and then bring him back again as just another one. What you need to do is bring him back, yes, via the multiverse or whatever, but have Stewart play the same one. Have him play this new one, you know? Have him play that same Xavier that you bring back in the MCU. Have him play that one throughout the rest of the saga. Don't have him playing like multiple different, you know, oh, here's an Xavier for this movie, he died. Oh, here's another Xavier for this movie, he's probably going to die. It just gets sloppy and it takes away the meaning to it. And it really begins to lend credence to this idea that nothing really matters. They should have had the Xavier from Multiverse of Madness be the Xavier that we would get in Kang Dynasty or get in Doomsday. And, you know, have what went down in Universe 838 like actually matter. But you know, it doesn't. It's just some random universe that we'll probably never hear from again or get any ramifications for like what happened there. And that just points toward the directionless nature of this saga that, you know, finally seems to be in order, but Christ, it's been a problem. So, well, I don't think bringing back Xavier in Multiverse of Madness undermined his death in Logan. I do think his return in Multiverse of Madness and death in Multiverse of Madness may have undermined his return for Avengers Doomsday. And don't get me wrong, I'm still very excited. It's going to be dope. I just hate that they kind of spoiled the fun by giving us such a subpar return in Multiverse of Madness that amounted to nothing, absolutely nothing beyond, hey, audience, look, it's that guy you know. Remember? You remember. And I love Sam Raimi. And I'm sure having Xavier and all of them for the Illuminati, that was a studio note above his pay grade. But I will say that I trust the Russos won't allow, you know, that to happen with Doomsday, especially with Feige, like, having hopefully learned from these mistakes and no longer having, like, so much that he's doing at once. and feeling like, I hope he's feeling pressure because this movie's important, but he was being pressured in like so many different directions. So I hope that that's all done now and that they can actually get back to putting out some quality stuff that has meaning to it. And look, member berries are cool. But when they're fucking stupid and empty and have no impact on the story, and they have no this happened, therefore this happened, and instead just a bunch of and then, it taints what could have been an epic return into just yet another return. But I hope and I think it's going to be so damn good that none of this will matter, and that Xavier's return in Doomsday will just kind of be so good that we can move past it. All right. Thank you so much for the question.